Alright, new season, second for life on the qualifying. I guess we'll have to see how the race goes. Nice YouTube intro. I didn't actually think about YouTube for that. I feel like if I was putting this on YouTube, I'd just do a voiceover.
Oh, I'll do that too. See you soon. This video is brought to you by my real life racing series. Catch up on all of my real racing exploits with the link in the description, where you'll hopefully enjoy what have always been some of my favourite videos to make. So, hello everyone and welcome back to another iRacing adventure where it kind of feels like I'm starting from scratch all over again. But I am excited to be embarking on a full season of racing once again, like I did a few seasons ago with the touring cars. We're going to do a full championship and try to improve every time we go. Now, for this first video, we're only going to see one race from each of the first 3 rounds, and that's because I only did one race for each of those 3 rounds for a variety of reasons. For this first one, I only had time to fit in one race. For the second one, I was ill and I could only do one race, and then the third one, I wasn't going to get a better result than what I got anyway. So it was an interesting start to the season, getting back into it across basically 3 races across 3 weeks. But I did want to make sure that I got at least one race in for each round, just to bank some championship points basically. Now for this first race, it was an interesting start. I'd managed to qualify in second place and I managed to keep second place around the first part of the first lap. But then the leader makes a little bit of a mistake coming out of this corner. I think it was just because he had cold tyres and just spun up the rear wheels, and that got me into the lead. Now the main problem with that was that although I felt like I had decent pace, this was the first time I'd been on iRacing for a few months, so I was certainly not consistent. And yeah, you'll see that in a few moments that I certainly make a lot of mistakes, and I was during the course of this race. So much so that even though I'd managed to build a little bit of a gap to second place, that sort of quickly disappeared over the next few laps where I was making mistakes.
Feels like a long time since I've been leading a race in this game. Careful.
And ultimately that ended up with me making a relatively small mistake into the first corner, but because I'd made so many other mistakes, second place was close enough to be able to pounce and take over the lead of the race. And at this point I was kind of thinking, okay, maybe I need to just accept that I don't have the consistency right now because it is my first race back after a few months. But I knew that this was also the only race I was probably going to be able to do in terms of just not having the time to do any more races. So I didn't give up, let's say, and I tried to at least stick with the new leader for the next lap or two and see if I could make something happen. That instinct, that racing instinct, it was still there even if I hadn't been on the sim for a few months. But why is it that it's like I'm starting from scratch? Well, I'd say that ever since I'd finished the full touring car season I did, where I ended up winning the Division 4 championship and hit my highest iRating of nearly 2000, I've kind of spent my time jumping into random races in a pretty sporadic fashion on the sim. I just haven't really been able to commit to racing regularly, week in, week out, and I've just picked one I wanted to race each time. And while I've had a decent amount of fun doing that and had some decent performances, like getting a pole position in a GT4 race at Suzuka one week, most of the time I've been struggling to get good results due to just chopping and changing cars and having big gaps between races, and consequently I lost a lot of iRating over that time. But here I was in this race trying to go for the lead again, and with that mistake for the leader, I figured, okay, I need to put the pressure on at this point, and yeah, I was always going to go for this move.
Right side. Clear.
So yeah, just a lovely little move, this one. I love watching this one back. I was really happy that I managed to get that one, pull it off and get it stopped in time for the corner. Little kiss on the exit, and that really sort of set me away, because what happened behind is that second and third place started to battle and slow each other down. Now, I was still making mistakes every now and then across the rest of the race, but because they were battling behind, I had a bit of a buffer such that they were never ever in a position to get back on terms with me, or if I made a mistake, they were never in a position to pounce on that and try to go for an overtake. So I was quite lucky in that respect.
What a freaking great overtake that was.
So yeah, going back to sort of my story of coming back onto iRacing, coming into this season and this race, I was at an iRating of 1393, which is only just above the starting iRating of 1350 when you first, sign up. Since I won my first few races ever back in the Mazdas when I did start, this is probably the lowest I've been ranked since I started on iRacing all the way back then. But, my recent rough situation and not having great results has given me a big desire to improve. My plan with this is to go back to basics with the Toyota, a car I usually seem to do well with, and then do a full season of racing in it like I did with the touring cars, and then after that move into GT4s and do some regular racing in that class. The important thing for me is that I'm on regularly, not leaving big gaps between races, while also not changing cars every time that I'm on. You need to just constantly be doing the same car week in, week out on different tracks, get used to it, know what you're doing, and especially with my limited time to be able to, spend on iRacing and put in a lot of practice, which is something that I just can't do. I am looking forward to seeing how I can improve with sort of a proper plan in place and doing the same thing regularly, and see if I can get some decent championship points in it and see what we can do like we did with the touring car season. By the way, check the playlist if you didn't watch that touring car season, because it was a good one. And this race was obviously the start of that. Like I said, I was rusty, I made mistakes, but I only had one chance to get a decent haul of points for this first race, and coming into the final stages I'd set myself up into a good position, but those mistakes were starting to creep in, and I was just hoping that the mistakes weren't going to be bad enough, or the people behind were battling with each other enough that it didn't cost me a good result.
Well, I never. Come on.
You won. Yeah, we did it. Too bad it wasn't for $1 million.
Nice. We got it. Been a long time since I've won on this game. Sweet. That felt good. There was a lot of mistakes on that one and close near misses. But I got it. I got the win. Oh. And that overtake that I made to get the lead back, I think that was deserving of the win, to be honest. It was such a good overtake. Oh, man. I was making too many mistakes because, it's the first time being back doing proper racing on here for ages. New pedal setup. Like, it makes sense that I'm, mistake prone. But I felt like I had the pace, just no consistency. Then he messes up, I think, in this first corner. Like, he only got the lead because I made a mistake. He didn't sort of take it from me. He did. I gave him the chance anyway, at least. Like, I was always going up the inside. Oh, it was beautiful. The little kiss at the end. Oh. I got lucky, I think, that the two behind were battling. My mistakes weren't as bad as what they could have been because they were battling and slowing each other down. Damn, plus 94 on the iRating. I was so far down. I was below my starting iRating. You start at 1350, I think. That was third split out of 6. There was over 100 drivers in that one. But yeah, the fact that those two were battling with each other helped me, because my mistakes kept pulling me back to them. But hey, a new season, starting with a win. The only race I'm going to do this week, so I've maximised what I can get out of that. We'll see what a full season brings of the Toyotas. Wow, that's close. I lost I had so much time left in the chicane as well. The top three are all within 3/4 of a tenth of each other. And I left a 1/4 of a second on the table in the chicane. Alright. Well, at least we're up towards the front end.
So we're into the second round now, which is a week after the race that we just saw, and this is only my second race of the season entirely, and I was ill for this race. I wasn't feeling very well, so I knew again that this was going to be my only chance to get a good result. I wasn't going to be doing another one after this. So yeah, it hasn't been the best start to the season, but at least I'm, with the commitment that I have to do at least most of the races, I'm here doing something anyway, even if I would normally not, have the ability to, or think there's probably no point. It's all about keeping up that momentum or starting to build some momentum as we see the leader make a mistake there. So I got up in second place quite early on. And yeah, just trying to make sure that I'm on, giving myself the best chance to improve, even in situations where I feel like I might not be doing too well. And with this sort of series, now that we're doing a new championship, I'm not going to do a new video for every single round, unless there's one round where I do 4 incredible races or something when they all need showing. I want to just sort of pick my best results from each of the rounds, because that's what counts in terms of championship points, and show you that one. Obviously for this first video, it's the first 3 rounds, because there's only one race from each of them. But yeah, it's gonna combine multiple rounds, maybe one video every 2 weeks with 2 rounds worth of races in it, that sort of thing. So with Daytona, it's all about the slipstream, and on this first lap, I wanted to get an idea of how powerful the slipstream was going to be. And obviously, as you can see, it was quite powerful. So I got myself up into the lead just through virtue of utilising the slipstream, and then I just was able to stay in the lead, because once I got up there, second place didn't seem like he wanted to overtake me. He just sat behind me, probably figuring out where he was going to make the pass on the last lap with the slipstream. But then the pole position man who made the mistake earlier got himself back up into our battle and overtook for second place, and then overtook me with the slipstream for the lead. But then he made another mistake immediately after that by going too wide at the exit of the chicane, got a slowdown penalty, and had to give the lead back. So my loss of the lead was very short-lived. He was able to pull himself back into the lead battle again, but he just kept making mistakes.
Clear.
It's going to be like this for the rest of the race, isn't it? It's interesting that second place just hasn't really gone for it at any point. Biding his time.
And in the end, the pole position man made one mistake too many, and it became a 2-way battle for the win coming onto the final lap, which it wasn't my best final lap ever, but I'll play it out in full so you can watch it as it happened.
That was your fastest lap of the session. Right side. Clear on the right.
Oh, third place has messed it up. That was the previous pole position man who made the mistake on the first lap. I guess he's got decent speed, but maybe lacks in consistency at the minute. It's a 2-horse race now. Second place is probably just going to wait until the last lap to come past me. We'll see what happens. It's just practicing.
Real nice work. This is the white flag lap.
Alright, last lap.
New fast lap for you.
This is where it's all gonna happen. Is he gonna go? He's gonna wait until after the chicane, I reckon, and try to get me at the line. I need to nail the chicane. Oh, I did as well. I'll take that off track. He's not going to do it. There's no way. Yes! 2 in a row!
You won. You just toyed with these people today.
Wow. Can't believe it. So he backs off. He specifically backs off here. Because he's like, okay, I'll wait for the chicane. But I finally nailed it. It was too far away. But he backs off thinking he'll do it after the chicane. Which I probably would have done the same. But I just friggin' nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. That was the 2/10 in the chicane that I lost out on in the qualifying. Came back at the end of the race on the last lap. Yeah, I mean, he even hit the cone. That was definitely a slowdown for that. That's why he stayed high, I guess. It's funny, by being so slow the whole race there, you trained them to brake earlier to not punt you, and then abused that in the last lap when suddenly you were faster. I know, right? I know. That's exactly what happened. They all thought I was slower than what I was in what I could be in the chicane, and I just sent it on the final lap. There it is. It was second split, actually. That wasn't even bottom split. 2 wins from 2 in 2 consecutive weeks. The first 2 weeks, I've done 2 races and won both. That's a good start to the season. I'm 227th at the moment on points, but 2 wins, 2 top 5s, 2 races, average start 3rd, average finishing position 1st, 19 laps, led 18 laps. Damn, I'm not top of Division 5 though.
There's more points to be had. I might have a job on my hands of actually winning this championship like I did with the touring cars. But I've got some points in the bag in 2 races where I was going to be struggling to get anything done with me being ill and then only able to do 1 race last week. At least I've got some good points on the board.
Everybody doing this session is in this race. From Division 1 to Division 9. These races have been having like 100 people when I've been doing them. So like 5 splits or whatever. Now we've got 18. I feel like qualifying I just need to set a lap. It's so easy to get an off track that setting a lap might just put you in the top half on its own. Left plenty of margin towards the end because I knew I just needed a lap. 107.5, that's not too bad actually. I'm not too dissatisfied with that. When I needed to pull it out of the bag at the end. Alright, locked in. I guess it's going to be 4th place. I just need to stay out of trouble on that first corner and then we'll see where we're at.
So it had been 2 wins from 2 in the first 2 races, and this was the 3rd week at Cadwell Park, which wasn't a very popular track for people to, I think, either own in terms of buying the track and have it available to race with, and then subsequently join it. So this was, like I said, this was the entire group of people. Usually there's about 100 people, at least 60 to 100 doing these races, and then we obviously get split up into, you know, top split is the highest ranked drivers, second split is next, and so on. This just had 1 split of drivers with everybody in it. So there was a wide variety of different iRatings and skill levels, but that's just the nature of, you know, it wasn't a very popular track. So I managed to get I wasn't particularly comfortable. I had to buy the track for this round. Again, I just wanted to make sure I was doing as many as I could in terms of the races. But I'd never driven it before, and it's quite a difficult circuit to not continually get off tracks because it's very tight, it's very technical, it's high speed in certain areas. So it's very easy to run a little bit wide and you get an off track. So when it comes to this race, I was just hoping to minimize my incident points, in all honesty. But I qualified in 4th place, managed to get into 3rd place by getting a jump off the line, and then my plan was basically just to stick with the 2 guys in front because they were quicker. You know, I didn't have any experience with the track, not an awful lot of practice beforehand, and I thought if I can just stick with them, kind of follow them through a little bit, maybe, you know, utilize the slipstream a bit, pull myself away from everybody behind, and then inevitably I'm not going to have the consistency to keep that up all the way through the race, but hopefully I'll have done enough at that point to not be at any risk of losing a position to people behind. Now there was one point where I did manage to get up to the back of 2nd place quite significantly and almost, you know, well, I say almost battled for 2nd. It's such a small track and very narrow that it's very difficult to make an overtake. So I wasn't really ever in a position to make an overtake for 2nd, but at least I was, you know, close to the back and putting some pressure on. There was a little bit of a close moment with a back marker towards the end of the race on the last lap, but apart from that, it was a pretty, I hesitate to say boring, but not an awful lot happened in this race really. I managed to get into 3rd at the start, had a little bit of a fight over 2nd in terms of pressuring, but after that, that's kind of how it stayed.
Oh, Jesus. Got away with that one. It's never straightforward, is it? Podium! Nice.
Checkered flag, checkered flag.
6 off
Good
tracks.
job. Very good job.
That's not so bad. I was expecting to get like 16 rather than 6. Whew. Thanks for the GGs. I used the first like 4 laps literally just to, I thought, okay, if I follow these two, I'll pull myself away from everybody else. And I was able to do that. And then a few mistakes crept in, which meant I dropped off the back of them, and then my lap times dipped. But they were still fairly respectable. Those are the fastest laps I've set, 106. I mean, the slipstream helped. I just thought I need to stay with these two as long as possible in those first few laps. And then I would be able to pull away from everybody else, and that's what happened. Once I dropped off the back of the top 2, I was already way ahead of everyone else. Hey, I'll take 3rd. Got the jump off the line, and then kept it. Safety rating stayed exactly the same. 77 points. Plus 66 on the iRating. That's 3 rounds now. 2 wins and a podium. Do I do another one? Or do I just accept that this is probably the best points I'm going to get for something like this? It's been an increase each time. I had a decent best lap in the end. I mean, it was with the slipstream, to be fair. It was about those first few laps is what did it for me. But yeah, I'm recovering everything on the iRating in comparison to everything I've lost over the last few months. The thing is, with something like this, am I going to get more championship points than 77? When there's only ever one split, and the maximum, even if you win, is 88. It's unlikely, I feel.
So 3 races, 3 rounds, and those are the points that I got in those 3 races. Obviously, for this one, the points that I got for each race counts to my championship points because I only did 1. Under normal circumstances, and I'm probably not going to show this in every single video until it becomes important towards the end, and you can go back and watch the touring car series as part of the playlist if you want more info on how the championship works in that way. But this is how things look after 3 rounds, and the championship takes your best 8 scores over the course of the 12 rounds. And for me, I'm usually doing 4 races or less each round, which means that my single best performance will constitute my points for that round. But if I do 2 races or 3 races and I get a better point, then that will count. So if I'd done a second race here in this 3rd week and got, 79 points, then that is what would count. If you do more than 4 races, they sort of average your 2 best and all that kind of stuff. It becomes more complicated, but for my purposes, I can't do that many races anyway. Ultimately, it's my best result each round that is going to constitute my points for the championship. We will talk more about this as the season gets to the end because it's more important there, but for now, it's been a really good start, and more so than anything else, it's just good to be back racing regularly on iRacing again. So hopefully you've enjoyed this first one. There's going to be obviously plenty more to come as I'm racing regularly now. And thank you all so much for watching.